Hello and welcome to another week of Yes Minister. Now this week we're focusing on the issue of pressure groups and their role in lobbying in modern Britain. So this topic connects with our additional study of quangos and think tanks and their role in the political process. Now, pressure groups received relatively little attention in Yes Minister, which very much focused on the intrigues behind the political process in Whitehall. But I think they've got an important role in the political process. And this week we'll be thinking about how the nature of pressure groups and lobbying has changed over time and why their role in the political process has often proved controversial. You only need to think back a few years ago to David Cameron's comments about his plans to increase the role of the big society in British politics. And over recent years there's been a growing interest amongst historians about the role that non-governmental organisations or NGOs have played in the history of British life over the last century. And Matthew Hilton and the Dango Project at the University of Birmingham has been particularly important in this process. So the growth of NGOs in modern Britain has often been connected with the rise of new social movements from the 1960s onwards. Now the 1960s was a time in which political party membership went into decline, and it's been in steady decline since then. And we see the growth of a real interest in identity politics. So various pressure groups are formed which focus on single issues, often connected to sexual politics, gender politics such as the women's movement, and anti-racism. And the role of these types of NGOs continues to expand during the 1980s. Remember, this is a time in which various forms of political participation, such as local government bodies like the GLC, is under challenge due to Thatcher's reforms. And if you think about the recent film Pride from 2014, this could be seen as a story about a very traditional form of political lobby, the trade unions, coming up against a new form of new social movement with the pressure group Lesbians and Gays Support the Miners.
Strike now entering its fourth month, and in the face of unprecedented violence, the government today insisted it will close 20 pits with the loss of over 20,000 jobs.
Without that pit, these villages are finished.
Mining communities are being bullied just like we are. What they need is cash.
Yeah, because the miners have always come to our aid, haven't they?
It doesn't matter. It's the right thing to do.
So we are going to pick a mining town completely at random.
Wales.
Your gays have arrived.
Don't meet everybody. Name the group you represent in this case.
Lesbians and Gays Support the Miners.
I'm hoping you can clear something up for me about lesbians. It did surprise me.
Let's get settled in first, shall we?
So this week we're looking at two forms of pressure groups from the 1980s. They are the Greenham Women's Peace Camp and the anti-apartheid movement. So we'll be thinking about the role of pressure groups in politics during the 1980s, and we'll also be thinking about why pressure groups have been controversial. Have they restricted and privatised the political lobbying process in British life, and where do they fit in with the neoliberal state? So I'm sure we're going to have some interesting discussions this week.